Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. This morning, mental health, still stigmatized, but it's front and center at one New Jersey school where professionals are helping hundreds of students cope. We will tell you what's going on there in the Garden State. Also, millions of families who depend on SNAP benefits began yesterday seeing their benefits cut drastically. We will tell you why. But first, Republicans have taken down metal detectors at the entrance of the Capitol floor, and with members and their staff already not screened when entering the building, there are Democrats who are saying they're concerned that something is bound to happen. Can't blame them. We will discuss with Dawn Montgomery and Auntie Nakia Cooper. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
It's good to see you both. We start at the U.S. Capitol. Staff
Mhm.
Sergeant Aquilino Gonell recently retired from the U.S. Capitol Police after he was injured in the January 6th attack, but he remains worried about one seemingly small security gap on Capitol Hill that could lead to a big problem. Members of Congress and others that they let in often, they're not screened at all when they enter the building. And now there's no metal detectors at the Capitol floor. And this former officer says the protocol is for them to pass around security. So staff members of the House Administration Committee confirm that members and their guests are not required to be screened. And already Matt Getz and Lauren Boebert and others have kind of said we packing, and Democrats say something is bound to happen. I'm gonna start with you, Dawn. With the way the political climate is today,
Mhm.
why is there a need for them to bring weapons into the Capitol? These
There,
lawmakers.
there, there's no need. Like, let's be honest. The fact that we just had the anniversary of the January 6th, insurrection, all of that. Like, there's no reason why we can't make sure that the capital of all places is a secure place, right?
Mhm.
And for them to remove metal detectors and have this right to carry guns, like that's a red flag, because we know how crazy it gets on the Senate floor, the House, all of that, when they start arguing or getting upset with each other across party lines and things like that.
Yep.
And you mean to tell me, the very people who were supposed to look out for, some of our senators and House reps, now had the opportunity to kind of just pull up on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Right.
literally gonna be a situation where, hey, I don't like what you're saying. I don't like what you're putting out there. Let me cause a scene, because we do know that the GOP, they consistently are doing things to create and instill fear. And at this point, like, we know what they're capable of doing. We actually know that they're setting up possibly the second coming of that insurrection. You know what I'm saying? Especially if there's nothing that's going to necessarily stop or red flag anybody that comes through those doors. So at this point, I don't trust the Republicans. I don't trust the GOP party, period. And at this point, I do believe like they're literally setting this up for a situation to happen in the White House.
Well, to your point, if you recall, during the 15 rounds it took for them to make Kevin
Mm-hmm.
McCarthy the speaker, there was a big fight on the floor, a little
Right.
shoving anyway.
And then you're gonna get rid of metal detectors. The very people, like, these white men don't even know how to control their emotions and how they are reacting to certain things, and now they're allowed to carry guns to
Well,
walk in here with something.
and it's not just the white men. Is people like
Mm-hmm.
Lauren Boebert quote says we have the right to defend ourselves, and we're going to
Oh
defend that
God,
right to keep that
who
in
you got to
America.
defend? Who you got to defend up in them? Like, for real? like,
Auntie
like
Nakia, who does she have to defend? Like Dawn said.
You know what? And I'm from Texas, and you know what we are carrying out here in open carry, and I
Yes.
think it's all unnecessary, right? It is unnecessary. You should not be bringing weapons into these federal buildings. You should not be bringing these weapons into any public any public building, period. We see that they can't even control themselves on the floors, like you said, with the different fighting and all of the other things that they're doing out there. And where are the examples being set?
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
people are supposed to be setting an example. The eyes of the country, everybody, it's there upon you, right?
Yep.
And you all are not even setting the proper example. This is open season on everything that we fought against and stand against, right? It is open season on everyone. And we know that certain people are not for the rights of others. And I think that they're trying to make more of a political statement than
Mhm.
really saying, I'm trying to protect myself.
Well, I think it goes further. I think that they are out for blood, literally.
Mhm.
I think that they feel like that's what the insurrection was about. That's what Trump's lie was about. This is about taking over this country. We see what's happening in Mississippi, right? And we see what's going on even in Georgia, Atlanta. Um,
Don't get
they're
me started about Georgia and Atlanta because it's a
yes,
hot mess over
and
here.
so we know that they're looking to turn it. We watched some of the hearings on
Mhm.
I don't know what the hearings were really about, but it really came down to them talking about Hunter Biden and his laptop, and nonetheless they were defending the insurrection. These Republicans sitting there, whose very lives, everybody's life
Mhm.
was in danger that day, right?
Mhm.
Um, they were saying stuff like, and this was yesterday, and I gotta hand it to Rep Jamie Raskin because he kind of handed them their heads, but they were saying that those Capitol rioters, those insurrectionists, uh, those people who committed treason were but pretty much innocent, that they didn't get fair shakes, that the government herded them in there and started prosecuting them. But this is what, and I
Listen,
can't remember. Greer can tell me who the rep
you
was,
let
Johnson, who said um, they didn't do this to Black Lives Matter rioters and protesters. And this was and so there you have it. There you have it.
Mhm.
Troy Niels. Let me just tell you about your Texas rep, Troy Niels. He's a Republican that actually has
Yeah.
some sense. He's a former sheriff. He says he's nervous about this. He says, I support the Second Amendment. I'm all about that. But this is the United States Capitol. And it's kind of like, would
That
you
part.
all would you all allow people to carry weapons at the county courthouse in civil trials dealing with
No.
divorce proceedings? No.
Mm-mm.
Won't
Did
No.
you?
you notice
No.
he said they said Black Lives Matters rioters and protesters? Black
Yes.
Lives Matters were not rioters. We were
Right.
Right.
protesters.
Period.
Because if
But
we riot, we
mhm.
know what happens to us.
That part, and again, that goes back to their privilege. Like they feel if that privilege is going somewhere. And the thing about it is you may say you want to protect yourself, but am I able to protect myself from you? Like,
That's true.
like, am I able to make sure that I'm going to be okay? I mean, look at, how, some House reps had to hide,
Under
during the
their desk
insurrection,
and somewhere.
and
Yes.
people weren't even looking out for them. You get what I'm saying? Like they
Yes.
were allowing people to be in their offices and things like that. So, and you mean to tell me, like, as somebody who used to intern at the Capitol, I did it 2 years in a row. You got to go through so many security checkpoints,
Yeah.
and you mean to tell me that at this day and time you want to remove something like that? Like
They were
it's no, it's a
scaling,
disaster. It's a
they were
disaster.
scaling the walls, they were carrying their flags, they were defecating in offices,
Hmm.
they were calling out the names, they were hunting down Nancy Pelosi, they were
Mike
urinating
Pence.
on public
I
on
mean,
things.
just
They were
trash.
Yeah.
ripping apart statues, they were taking pictures with them,
And
they
let's
were
face it,
wearing
Nakia,
animal prints.
when they talk about, and look at that picture right there.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
when we talk about the Black Lives Matter protest, imagine, you could easily imagine this. It was the Black Lives Matter demonstrators
Listen,
who ran up
they
into the
wouldn't even got.
Capitol. None of
We
them would have
wouldn't even
came
got
out
the
alive.
driveway.
You know
First of
what
all,
I
we wouldn't have
said?
got in the driveway. You know what I'm saying? We would have been in front on the
That's
step. The
it.
state have been pop, 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 pop. Period. Like it
That's
None
should
of
it.
be
Like I
100.
always
they
say,
would have
it's just
sealed the
like Big Papa
building and
said.
blew it up.
Yeah, if it's like Big Papa said, there would have been some slow singing and flower bringing had there been a bunch of black folks out
Not
there.
Big Papa. Hey, you know what? I have to say this. My mind goes everywhere. But
Oh
when you
God.
said white privilege,
Yes.
somebody said to me yesterday, just yesterday, I was
Mm.
floored when they see when they see a white homeless person, they
Mhm.
will refuse to give this person a homeless
Oh.
person or somebody begging on the street if they white. they refuse to give them $1 because they are not using their white privilege or something along those.
Oh my
I,
God. Come
listen,
on.
when you say
No, you can't be like that now,
a white male,
Like, listen, but see, the thing about it is that in a lot of those situations, most of those people are dealing with mental health issues and things of that nature. So you don't even know if,
look,
and then
according to
honestly,
this
with
person, they
100,
still misuse their white privilege.
listen, right, but also to that point too, you still don't even know if said person isn't one of those people who technically has been using that type of privilege to kind of like say, oh, I'm without or blah blah blah, and actually are going home. You know what I'm saying? Or going
Right,
somewhere.
right.
Because there are we've seen the reports, we've seen the interviews where there are people who actually do that. So I mean, I understand the issue there, but I don't think I immediately would think white privilege in that situation, to be honest with
Man,
you. But yeah, that's
I was
crazy.
almost on the floor when I heard that one. I was like, all right,
That is sort
look.
of hilarious because it just shows the disparities, though the different.
That
Because
part,
it
yes.
shows it really is. It is something like to laugh, but it is. I get the joke because it's like, yeah, you
Listen,
got
no, that
pretty
person was
messed
not
up.
joking. Let me tell
Yeah,
you right
that
there.
was serious.
That person was not joking. That's
Mm,
true.
a mess.
Yeah.
But look, I want to say good morning to the Telegram newspaper. They are watching this morning. It's good to have you aboard. Power 96 says they might be packing, but they ain't about that life. It's all fun and games until one of them pulls the trigger. And good morning to Monique Daniels.
That part. That part. Mm.
Listen,
That
Dawn,
picture right there is just scary.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's what this is what they want, right? This is what the insurrection was about. That this is America. This is what America should look like, right? They got their flags. Some of them got weapons. And in that
And
crowd, make
I
no
hate to
mistake
say
about
this,
it.
I bet you many of them are missing teeth. But I'm gonna go ahead and
But
say, look at that
in
picture.
addition to that, many
Mhm.
of them
Mhm.
are either ex or current military or either ex or
Hmm.
current law
Hmm.
enforcement.
Hmm. Which is even scarier because,
And
again, like,
right,
who can we really trust?
right. I
In
mean, you
this
think about and
decade, that is
you wonder why. And I was on the train yesterday on my Acela train, first class. Let me just get that straight. First class on the Acela
I know
yesterday,
that's right. Come on,
and
Stacey, with the
black
and I
privilege.
a black woman sat beside me, and she was talking about how she was talking to her husband about getting pulled over by the police.
Mm.
And she said her husband was explaining to her, not that she needed explanation. She said they just rehashing this why black people run
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
the fear is just so palpable when that light shines. I told the story last week on this program. It's very true, very short story. Picked my daughter up from school. Um, there was one car in front of me. The traffic light was going real fast, so like at most two cars can get by. If you're in the left turning lane, you can only turn left. And you stuck there if you felt like you in the wrong lane, right? Well,
Mhm.
state police pulls up next to us
Yeah.
and says, "Hey, can I ask you?" He says, "Excuse." It was very polite. He's, "Excuse me, can I ask you a favor?" I was like,
Mhm.
"Yes, officer." He says, "When the light turns green, would you let me in front of you, please?" He says,
Mhm.
"Because I need to pull that car in front of you over." I was stunned that he was so nice because I felt like I could say no.
Listen,
I
I'd
felt
have
like I
been
could say
like,
no.
sure you can. Come on.
No, but Dawn, here's the part. I mean this, but unfortunately, I feel like if that person that was driving that car in front of me was black, especially a young black person,
Yeah, yeah, I can
all
see
of a
that. Yeah.
sudden I'd have been like, "Off, I can't start the car. I'm sorry, I can't. The car malfunction."
I know that's
Yeah.
right.
Because I would feel awful if I say,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, go ahead." It's a young black, and next thing you know,
And then
it's
there's
on
a
the news.
situation. Yeah,
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 the body cam. We waiting
yeah,
for the body cam footage.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
would be awful.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
unfortunate to think like that
And
because you breaking the law, you deserve whatever. I mean,
that's
not whatever. You deserve the punishment that's supposed to fit the crime. You don't deserve the knee, the neck,
yeah,
and all that stuff. You
yeah.
deserve to
But
get that ticket or whatever it is.
yeah, but we also know that there's studies that have shown where especially in major cities, like almost every traffic stop with black and brown people, especially black people, we end up injured. We end up in jail. We end up dead. Like these instances
Right.
are always happening consistently. So we are all hyper vigilant,
Yep.
which is like, at this point, I can't trust, a lawmaker that thinks that it's okay to remove a metal detector in the place of where they're supposed to govern and, do the things that they're supposed to do. No, you need that. You need that there.
It's not about governing anymore, Auntie Nakia, right? It's not about that anymore. This is it's all out war now, politically and almost otherwise, right? It's all out war.
Oh, it's all out war, and we know who's winning, and it's not us. It's not us.
Well,
They keep
listen,
stripping the power. We can keep on fighting. We can keep on doing anything. But as long as we got these yahoos in office and in political things and holding the gavels and, calling to order a place that there is no order, embarrassment,
she
privilege,
said Yahoo's doing.
Yahoos.
That's what I said. I was like, no, not the Yahoos.
Not Yahoos.
Yeah. Not the drink, but
I'm from the country.
I know that's right. I'm from
the country. This stuff right here is taking us back to times where we are using the words yahoos, and the word effery comes to mind every time
who?
I
Say that
open
again.
my mouth these days.
Say
This
that
is
word again.
ridiculous.
No, Auntie Nakia, say that word again.
Effery.
What is that?
Oh, fill in the letters in between. Effery. If I
had a moment
trying to be dignified right now,
I had a moment, Dawn. I had a moment.
I have a potty mouth. Okay, these fools are up here cutting up, and we are voting them in, and can't even get them out.
Lying, get them out. Oh my God.
Their resumes. Doing the most.
What my man say with the baby kids? They don't die, they multiply.
Robin Harris. Yes. Robin Harris. Long live Robin Harris. If people say, you know what, all of this is stand-up comedy at its best. At its finest. That's right. This is when we need the Richard Pryors to talk about this. We need the old school legends to come in. What's happening?
Give it to Cat Williams. Give it to Cat Williams.
Cat Williams will do this injustice. He will
take it there.
You mentioned Richard Pryor. We were and we'll have some more details on this real soon for you guys. We had the White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre come into the studio yesterday, graced us with her presence, and we
she's so amazing.
She is amazing.
I told hair in front of the camera, United States, saying hello.
Yeah, right.
Topless skin, saying what we got.
Well, you mentioned Richard Pryor. I said to her, I remember that skit with Richard Pryor when he was at the podium in the White House, the briefing room, and somebody said something about your mama, and Mr. He was playing the black president. Mr. President, you can't do it. He went over it. I asked Karine, I said, don't you have that moment where you just want to slap the taste out of somebody? You want to Will Smith somebody?
Oh my God.
Get down.
No, you did. I said it.
I did.
I know you did. Good Lord.
Look, stay tuned for the answer. When she answered the question. So stay tuned for that answer. We're gonna bring a special interview with Karine Jean-Pierre. But that's gonna be on our YouTube page. It's gonna be on our podcast. We gotta tell you more about that too.
Love it.
We are starting a new podcast, Let It Be Known podcast. So keep in mind. Okay. Now, Dawn, you mentioned also mental health. Let's talk about that. A high school in New Jersey is providing mental health support through a program that offers at-risk students academic help and teaches strategies for coping with emotions. And students say it is helping. In 2020, the Parsippany Troy Hill School District in New Jersey started the STRIVE, STRIVE program, helping students like 15-year-old Alex Kumar, who had struggled with depression. Social worker Christian Madden runs the STRIVE program at Parsippany Hills High School, where she meets with Kumar and 2 other students in a small group 3 days a week. In addition to academic support, Madden teaches her students coping strategies from breath work to a technique called grounding, which helps people focus on the present and alleviate symptoms of anxiety. Mental health is particularly, and we know this is no breaking news, since the pandemic has really been front and center. There's been so many with some sort of mental health issue. And for them to address this, I'm just surprised that we have not heard of other schools doing this, and it's really working by all accounts at that school in New Jersey.
Well, it's one of those things where, in general, just look at the fact that for what we know right now, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is proposing, new assistance, and it's like I think the budget is right around $53 billion budget, where it's more like property tax relief, spending on schools, and mental health. So, I mean, if you lead with something like that, where you're looking to provide people with the resources that they consistently ask for, we need better housing situations. We need more resources for just all people regarding, mental health. But the thing is when we're talking about these schools, these kids are being policed every single day because you have, school officers or people on campus that are consistently watching after them. So not only are they dealing with whatever issues that they have going on at home or in the environment or community that they're in, they're actually walking into a situation at school where it's like even more heightened, because you got a mix of all of that, and these kids are trying to have to manage that. And then, like what you brought up with the pandemic and dealing with the pandemic, there are still kids who are still behind mentally because of what was going on during the pandemic and having to be at home and maintain school, presence and doing all the things during that time. So it's very, very frustrating just in general when people don't really understand how they can really, really push their legislators to put more money into the things that they're really looking for. Now, will they do it? Will they make it a priority? Probably not. But here you are, you have a proof of concept, like literally.
Yep.
If you need to see where this is actually working and where the students are actually using their voices and telling you, we need this, it's happening and it's working for us, then guess what? We need other cities to kind of pick up that ball and do the same thing, or we need other states to do the same thing.
Exactly.
So that's what's more important here, is to know that this is actually helping, students. And look at this picture. You got Black students, you got a mix of minority students or what have you. Like a lot of times we can easily say that they don't care about us. But in this particular situation, it's setting up another generation to really have the things that most of us probably didn't have or have access to. And what that will do is create a better, community, as well as like just better residents and citizens of the state, to where they know that they can go and get help, or they know they have access to these things regardless to what situation they're in.
Well, in that school in Jersey, the counselor, she taught teaches students how to focus on things during difficult moments that they can see, touch, taste, smell, and hear. She says it just kind of brings you back to focus on things. If you're in the middle of a state of anxiety and you have to look around and pick 5 things to see and really focus on them, it interrupts the cycle of anxiety. She stresses that the benefits of journaling and having students focus on the positive aspects of their lives as a way to be in a state of here and now and feel gratitude. Nakia, again, I just think it's an amazing program.
It's an amazing program, and I think it's a much needed program, because I think that somewhere along the lines over the last couple of, at least more than the last decade or so, we as parents or whatever, somewhere, somebody dropped the ball somewhere, and our children are not the same kids that we were growing up. And I don't know if it's because of the video games, as they say, of the reality television, of the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the thumb thugging, the cyberbullying, like all of that. And thumb thugging is in essence cyberbullying, you all. But my thing about it is,
I'm glad you broke it down.
You're going to get a whole bunch of little slang terms from me. But we have done so much to get them off course. We have to like really go in and get them back on course. Now, my children lost their father during the pandemic. And so it was a sister, and my kids are teenagers and they were in high school. And I was already we were already working as a family on some things with like grief counseling and whatnot. But lucky for me that one of my former high school classmates named Kim Green, it was the school counselor at Willow Ridge High School where they attended, right? She inboxed me on Facebook. She contacted me and she said, I want to have your permission to put your kids in a grief counseling session. They
Mm.
started group grief counseling there for students
Man, I
who
love that.
lost someone they loved during the pandemic. And then,
Mm.
she would give me some certain feedbacks, about things. And I started to notice a difference because they were on, like, especially my son was able to talk about his feelings with other peers, right? So things that he was
Mhm.
going to shut down on me about or be too macho to talk about losing his dad is something that he was actually sharing. I also think that these programs need to broaden it. So it's not just the grief counseling, but that's just an example.
Right.
There's so much grief out here from everything. Everybody's losing some people. Some people are struggling with their, being in single parent households, not feeling supported.
Yep.
There are students, I believe that if you identify something, I think that you need to put the bullies, like now, not about my children. Now we go on to talking about the bullies. Bullies have an issue, right? They, if a counselor recognizes a person with some, put these bullies in these classrooms, because guess what? Put these bullies in these sessions. They are the ones, who need some counseling as well. And then if you take out that element or help everyone, the people who are bullying, the people who are being bullied, you'd have less school shootings. You'd have less children snapping under the pressure. You have less students attacking teachers. We see what they're doing. These students are messing these teachers up for just taking their phones, for just talking to them rough. So we have people who need counseling all over, and
Yeah.
instead of them worrying about the state mandated tests, instead of them worrying about the school lunch programs, which we do still need those, right? And talk about the healthy,
Yes.
it's about the healthy mind as well.
Yeah, it's definitely about
Put
that.
them in school.
Power 96 says the state of Texas is horrible when it comes to mental health in public schools. One counselor for 250 students. That does not get it done. One per 250. That's
That's not
horrible.
even enough. And then then you wonder why the state as a whole, when certain behavioral cases come up and various issues, why they are like they're backed up. You know what I'm saying? They don't even really have the support. They don't even really have the resources that they really need. So I just think, and on top of them doing this in this particular school or what have you and district, the state of New Jersey is also like, I think there's a bill, I could be wrong, but I think I saw when I looked up, the topics for today, I think there's a bill where they're proposing that students should be able to have mental health days. I think I've talked about this before.
Right.
If my kids wake up one morning and they say that they need to take a day because they're not feeling it, now mind you, I ain't gonna let them do that every week, or every day. But
Right.
you can look at your child and see that your child does not feel it, or is not gonna really, pay attention in school, or needs more sleep, or needs just a time off, a day off. We call it a mental health day. Like,
Right.
and if you have that ability to allow students to do something like that, I know everybody's not, doesn't have a parent that's going to be at home or all of these other things, but the thing is giving them the ability to understand you can miss some days just because you need to, right? Because even as adults, we need mental health days. What makes you think children don't need that? Or students may not need that, So I just think overall, this is one of those things that as long as they're looking into long as they're looking into mental health resources and doing the things that they're actively doing and removing police officers or school resource officers out of the schools, then as far as I'm concerned, this is the blueprint. Like, this is what we need. This is what's going to turn some things around for our children and for the next generation.
Yeah.
And I just want to add something really quickly on the back end of that. Every time that there's a school shooting, I work in a newsroom here in Houston, and every time there's a school shooting, every time there's some child who died close to campus or some kind of death related to campus, right, to school, we always get the statement from the school, and it's the standard statement. At the end of that statement, it says, after they say their condolences, they say grief counselors will be on hand to provide, the students some resources. But remember, that those grief counselors are out of that school and within a week.
Right.
This is an ongoing thing.
Right.
It's not
and they never know those kids. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great point, Nakia. I'm gonna lift up David E. Kelly's comment, but after the next topic.
Cool.
we have some comedians that watch too. I love it. Putting food on the table is going to be a lot harder now, at least since yesterday, for millions of Americans. Food stamp recipients will each receive about $90 a month less in benefits on average
Mhm.
as a pandemic hunger relief program comes to an end nationwide 3 years after Congress approved it. Every household in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, as food, known as SNAP or food stamps, will see their monthly benefits down. Some large
Mhm.
families will see reductions of up to $250 or more.
Exactly.
This is, it's really a shame. We find no, it's not even that they find; they just do. I was gonna say we find billions to go to for war, for military, for Ukraine, Russia's
Mhm.
situation. And look, to many that's important, and I'm not taking away the importance of it, but we can't. What's that saying, Nakia Dawn? Charity begins where?
What, at home?
At
But let me
home.
say this. I'll tell
Mhm.
you like this. This is a slap in the face, but it's laughable because first of all, you only gave them about $92. I'm down here in Texas. You only gave them about $92 extra, right? And then you're gonna, like they say, I give you a little something, then I take it right back. I give you a little something more, and
Mhm.
I take it right on back. Okay, everything. And I told people, I said this a couple of years ago when they started this, oh, we're going to help people out during the pandemic. It's like, that's temporary patch that really
Hmm.
was something that you didn't. Everything was already so backwards. They
Right.
give them unemployment, extra benefits, right? They take it right back.
Take
They
it back.
give you, they start some things and say, oh, we're gonna. What did they do with the student loans, right? Student
Oh
loan
gosh.
forgiveness. Guess what? Stop it. Got to take it right on back. And now you're going to take back the $90 when you should have been giving them a whole lot more than that in the first place. You
Hmm.
understand? I'm sitting here, our highest rated, we get the most page views every time we put out an extension story for the SNAP benefits. That thing catches on like wildfire. As a digital manager, I want to make sure when I see that come across, oh, Governor Greg Abbott extends SNAP benefits for households, this and that. We put that bad boy up first and send out a breaking news push alert because it's driving those numbers. Why? Because hungry people are sharing it, people need it, and they are all looking for it. They're trying to see, oh, and this is what they would say. If you are already on the program, do nothing because you will see those benefits added to your card. And if you have a child and you don't qualify for it, but if you have a child on a free lunch program, right? That's that curve saying, hey, I make enough not to qualify for food stamps, but I make just under the thing to where you give me free to give them some free lunch, free or reduced lunch. We're going to give you that, right? All of this is going back in reverse. You give them crumbs and now you're taking the crumbs away.
And then you also realize, we all realize how prices are so sky high.
Listen, don't even
I
start
did,
because
Dawn, I did an
because
article,
Chicken wings was $23 in the grocery
23.
store the other
Listen,
day. I cannot make this up.
I did an article, Dawn, maybe 2 weeks ago that
Mhm.
talked to all these people making $200,000, $150,000, and they are living paycheck to paycheck
Oh
because
yeah.
And
everything
I
is
believe
so
that.
high. So imagine,
I believe that.
imagine those who make uh, enough money or make that little
On
money to
minimum
qualify.
wage.
To
Right, right.
qualify.
So it's a number of things. First and foremost, you bring up a good point. People that are even making six figures are still living paycheck to paycheck, and they're
Mhm.
borderline like if they miss a check or two, they're going to be out of housing. They're going to be without certain things that they need for them and their family. SNAP has always been one of those programs where it has always more so benefited, people of color. I hate to say people of color, but I'm just gonna say it like that. Like it's always done something to where it allowed us to use our money for other things. It allowed us to have that main resource or that go-to thing where we know, okay, if I'm missing something in between weeks, I can go to this food bank and they're going to be giving out, bags of food and do all of this other type of things. You got what is it, the Atlanta Community Food Bank? You got the CEO from there talking about how now they're going to have to raise more money
Oh,
in
but
order to
wait,
give
Dawn.
away more
Wait,
food.
Dawn, your favorite topic. Um, Mr. Brett Favre stealing all that money from
Listen,
allegedly
Oh,
and
honey.
it,
from
and it's
Mississippi's food stamp program.
And it's like you've got people that are in these spaces that are doing the work and doing the things for the community on top of what SNAP provides. But then you've got a Brett Favre that took the money and created a whole volleyball stadium or arena or what have you for his daughter at Southern Miss. I'll be damn. So as far as I'm concerned, it's
still walking free.
That part. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm very frustrated because there's this continuous cycle of making sure that Black and brown people are not allowed to advance in some form of fashion. If they can't get us in healthcare, they're gonna get us with food. If they can get us with food, they're gonna put an abortion ban. Like, it's all of these things that they keep coming for us for. And the more and more I think about it, I think about the Black Panther Party and how they were really looking out for their communities and doing the things. Now, I ain't gonna talk about some of the other issues that they might have had internally, but that can be worked out and discussed at a later time. But as far as I'm concerned, they had everything going for themselves when they were pooling resources together and were really looking out for their people. And I think that's that's so frustrating. Go ahead. Look
what Joni King wrote, which is so true. She says some people are living from paycheck to paycheck. Some people aren't living from paycheck to paycheck. They're living from paycheck to Monday. How about that? Yeah. Friday to Monday. Aunt Pam says she paid $20 for eggs for 18 eggs. And Monique Daniel says you can't even buy a Snicker bar anymore. She went to Wawa and said, let me grab a Snicker bar. When the cashier told me $2.15, I almost fell out.
Not you almost fell out.
A Snicker bar.
I haven't seen them eggs yet. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I feel like
I go to a farmer's market and I go to like places like Sprouts, and I'm grateful that I live in an area where I have access to something like that. Yeah. But if I find some $20 eggs, I'm telling you now, I'm gonna go find me a farmer in Middle Georgia, and I'm gonna be like, hey, just bring me my eggs from your chickens, because I don't have time to be dealing with this. But no, it's very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating.
It is, and then they take away, like Nakia poured out. It's like they give you one thing, take away the other, and then it's a cycle. It's a game to them. It's a shell game.
Yet they don't want to give you some type of assistance with things that you need. You get what I'm saying? It's like, no, like as a government, like you should be able to do those things, because what are our tax dollars for? What are you using the money that we have to pay on or what have you to do whatever? Like, I can't even get somebody to come consistently fix, this main road out here in Metro Atlanta that's got potholes everywhere. And every time I drive down there, I gotta pray whether or not my tire is gonna come from under my truck. Like, it's things like that. Like, where is the money going? What if you're not looking out for the people, then what did we vote you into office for to do? So I
remember what we said earlier, right? This it's not about, it's clearly no longer, if it's ever been about the people, it's no longer about the people. It's about the power that these folks want and the type of America that they want. Nobody who stands in that way, and nobody who in their view deserves it, is going to they're just going to go after. They're going to make sure that they do whatever they can to make life as hard as possible for those not on their team.
Yeah.
And these are so that's who folks for the most part, the Lauren Boeberts of the world, the Marty, you vote, the folks, y'all vote for them, and you expect anything different, right? It's not like it's Boebert. I think she won by like a handful of votes on this go around. So
but the thing about it is that she had enough to get in there, and those people aren't. Those people, like how you mentioned, white privilege and maybe a homeless man or whatever, those are the very people who may still have something to where they can show up to go and go vote, and they're going to vote for someone like that. Like, why would you do that? And you're already suffering. Like, make that make sense.
Make it make sense. Yep. Auntie
and who was the first Black person that said make it make sense? I guess that. That's a Black history question, because it had to be a Black woman. I feel like it was a Black woman that said make it make sense.
Oh, it had to be.
I just need to know who said that first.
I'm sorry, it might have been Greer. I popped out for a second, but it's
not a problem. Not a problem. Welcome back
today.
Don't even get me started about Xfinity.
Dawn, the person who said that might have been Greer.
I
I
believe
agree.
that.
But it's sad. But these conversations are necessary for us to have in the Black press and the Black community. Dawn, before we go, you have
Mhm.
started a new. Speaking of podcasts, I think you
Oh.
tell us about that a little bit.
Mine is to me with Revolt. Yeah, I've been very, very blessed with that opportunity to be on the second season of this podcast. It is a podcast that's for Black women, speaks to Black women, holds space for Black women. I think that's so important because we do have a lot of podcasts out here that say they're for us, by us, but when we listen to them, you're just like, okay, is this really something we really need to be discussing? But I really love the co-host that I have on there, Akila Friend. She was on there last season with another co-host, and I just think it's a blessing to kind of see how Revolt is really pouring into our communities and putting us forward to kind of talk about these issues that people keep either like skating by on social media and not really having some type of like depth to those conversations. So yeah, it's been really, really fun. It's been a different thing for me because y'all know I like to stay behind the scenes. I like to just do my thing. So when they came to me, I was like, hey, we gotta talk about this now. What are we gonna talk about? Who are going to be the guests? And I'm pretty excited about the lineup of topics as well as like the guests that we'll have on the show. So I really I've been embracing that.
Awesome. And Nakia,
Thank you.
absolutely, thank you. And Nakia, what can we expect from you soon, from the Bayou Beat or from your radio show? What's coming up, Auntie Nakia?
I don't know. I'm just trying to balance it all and keep it all together.
I know that's right.
I'm just trying to make it do what it do in the newsroom where I am. Oh, you know what? I am the president of the Houston Association of Black Journalists, and this
I know that's right.
this
Look at
Saturday
that.
we are having a student mentor breakfast at our at my newsroom is hosting or allowing us to use the space there at KPRC. So we will be pouring into this younger generation. We have different panels set up, one for diversity, equity, inclusion in the workplace. We have other professionals who are going to talk about what to do with your degrees outside of the newsroom, other degrees in other things in communication, other jobs in communication. We have another panel that talks about from internships to the classrooms to the newsrooms and say, how do you not only capture or whatever and keep your first job. So
Okay.
that's what's more exciting to me other than anything else that I'm doing right now. I'm just mama just burning the candle at a whole bunch of ends, but we making it.
I have a
I
quick
know that
question.
feeling.
I have a quick question because again, like I said, my mind just goes in different places at times. Before we go, I need y'all to help me answer this question. We live in a mostly cashless society, right? Everybody's got their Apple Card, Apple Pay, or
Lord,
Cash
yes.
App. Everything's on the phone, right?
Mhm.
Now, when I'm traveling, I try to get some cash so I can make sure at the hotel I leave a tip because you got to leave a hotel tip. You got to, right?
You have to.
And see with Uber, your tip is again, all you have to do is press the button on the phone. You leave your tip, whatever, right? Restaurants, same thing. Credit card, you leave the tip on the credit. But my problem is the Excella. Right. So on the way down to DC, of course, I made sure I misread the situation, but I gave, misread how much cash I needed for the hotel and for the Excella. So I gave the guy a tip because Excella, they really take care of you, right? Especially if you get the right one. You get they keep the drinks coming, the food coming, and everything. They don't have the best of scotches, but at least they have something to get you through. And so, but
Yes,
I give tips.
what
So on the way home, I realized I had tipped out. And homeboy was really doing his job, and I couldn't give him a tip.
You should have asked him what his Cash App was or what his Zelle was because most people have a Cash App or a Zelle. I'll do that in a minute because I'm not finna carry cash. I'm gonna tell you that now. I'm not gonna carry no cash. I have my cards on me, but I will ask someone immediately, especially if I'm like doing valet or something like that. Hey, do you have a direct Cash App that I can send the money to you or things like that? And it makes it. What I found is like when
apologized to him that I didn't have any cash. He could have told me that.
Right. Yeah, but
He
here's the
wasn't going
thing.
to tell you that.
He probably wasn't going to tell you that because a lot of times they may not be able to do that. So unless you ask, they're not going to volunteer that. So just know, like, the next time that happens, just be like a little comment, like, hey, you got cash up or something, I can send you something, and then do that, and then you just never know. That goes a long way. Because I know for me, I'll ask somebody that in a minute, babe, I ain't got no cash. Do you have something where I can send you something too? Because I think that's another reason why I have Venmo. A lot of people have Venmo more than they do Cash App, from what I've seen, and that's been different. So I'm like, okay, it's easy to move money on there too to send to somebody. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Like there's other ways of doing it, but yeah, and then don't feel bad either, because I mean, at least you show gratitude. I think in a lot of these situations where people are in service to other people, nobody's really treating them in the positive light. It's all I want, I need, versus I'm grateful you're here to service or to do these things for me. Thank you for that. So I think you saying thank you and showing appreciation was a lot for that person.
Now I feel
and
better.
I think Stacey,
go
for
ahead.
now to say it, just like in the words of Big Papa again. So if you don't know, now you
Now
know.
you
Now
know.
you know.
Well, on that note, and I know Nakia got to run, but we really appreciate both of y'all. Dawn, of course, check her out. What's Monuments to Me?
Monuments to Me, yeah.
And of course, Auntie Nakia, always check her out, Bayou Beat, and more. Thanks for watching. Let it be known. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.